Hey everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today, we're embarking on an epic journey back in time, not to witness grand battles or the rise and fall of emperors, but to follow the footsteps of the unsung heroes of the ancient world. The traders. These weren't just merchants. They were adventurers, diplomats, and pioneers who connected civilizations, spread ideas, and laid the very foundations for the globalized world we live in today. So, grab your provisions, because we're about to explore the incredible story of ancient trade. Let's start at the very beginning. Long before coins jingled in pockets or credit was a concept, trade began with a simple, elegant idea. But imagine you're a farmer with a surplus of grain, but you need pottery to store it. Your neighbor is a skilled potter who happens to need food for their family. The solution is simple. You trade your grain for their pots. This direct exchange of goods and services was the bedrock of early economies. It was personal, community-focused, and based on mutual need. While it might seem basic to us now, this system was a revolutionary step for humanity, allowing for specialization. People could focus on what they did best, be it farming, crafting, or hunting, knowing they could trade for everything else they needed. As societies grew more complex, so did their needs and desires. Simple bartering within a village wasn't enough. This gave rise to some of the most legendary networks in human history. The great trade routes. When we hear ancient trade, the first thing that probably comes to mind is the Silk Road. And for good reason. This wasn't a single road, but a vast network of trails and sea lanes stretching over 6,000 kilometers, connecting China with the Mediterranean. For centuries, it was the main artery for goods, ideas, and cultures flowing between the East and the West. But the Silk Road was far from the only game in town. In the arid landscapes of the Arabian Peninsula, the incense route, also known as the spice route, was just as vital. This network carried precious frankincense and myrrh from southern Arabia to the ports of the Mediterranean. These weren't just nice-smelling resins. They were essential for religious ceremonies, perfumes, and medicine in empires like Rome and Egypt, making them worth more than their weight in gold. Meanwhile, spanning the world's largest hot desert, the Trans-Saharan trade routes were a marvel of human endurance. Great camel caravans, sometimes numbering in the thousands, braved the scorching sands of the Sahara. They linked the societies of North Africa with the vibrant kingdoms of West Africa, creating a powerful exchange network that moved immense wealth across the continent. These routes weren't just lines on a map, they were lifelines of commerce and culture. So, what exactly were these ancient traders hauling across deserts, mountains, and oceans? The variety of goods is staggering. From China came the most coveted luxury of all, silk. Its production was a fiercely guarded secret for centuries, making it incredibly valuable. Roman nobles would pay a fortune for this soft, shimmering fabric. From the spice islands of Indonesia came cloves, nutmeg, and pepper. These spices did more than just flavor food. They were used as preservatives, medicines, and status symbols. Habinga, well-stocked spice rack, was the ancient equivalent of owning a luxury car. Africa was a treasure trove of valuable resources. Gold from West Africa flowed north across the Sahara, funding empires and minting coins across Europe and the Middle East. Salt, which we take for granted today, was so crucial for preserving food and sustaining life in the hot climate that it was often traded for gold, ounce for ounce. This is where the phrase "worth his salt" comes from. Ivory from elephant tusks was carved into exquisite art and jewelry, while other regions offered precious stones, fine pottery, and strong metals. It was a global marketplace, thousands of years before the term was even invented. But the most profound impact of these trade routes wasn't the exchange of goods, but the exchange of ideas. Traders didn't just carry cargo, they carried their beliefs, customs, and knowledge with them. As merchants traveled the Silk Road, they brought Buddhism from India to China, where it took root and transformed the spiritual landscape. Later, Christianity and Islam would spread along these same commercial arteries, carried by missionaries and merchants alike. Languages also traveled. Lingua francas, common languages used for trade, emerged along these routes, allowing people from vastly different backgrounds to communicate and do business. Think of Aramaic in the Near East or Greek in the Mediterranean. Technological innovations also spread like wildfire. The Chinese invention of paper, for example, traveled west along the Silk Road, revolutionizing literature and administration wherever it went. Similarly, advancements in mathematics, astronomy, and medicine were shared between civilizations, accelerating human progress on a global scale. Cultural practices, from music and dance to art styles and cuisine, blended and evolved, creating a rich, interconnected tapestry of human culture. This explosion of trade fueled unprecedented economic growth. Cities located at key crossroads or ports blossomed into bustling, cosmopolitan metropolises. Think of Palmyra. In the Syrian desert, a vital oasis city on the trade routes, or Alexandria in Egypt, a melting pot of cultures and a hub of maritime commerce. The wealth generated from trade funded the construction of magnificent temples, grand public buildings, and vital infrastructure. Empires like the Roman Empire and the Han Dynasty in China grew incredibly wealthy and powerful by controlling and taxing these trade flows. Tariffs and tolls collected from caravans and ships filled state coffers, allowing them to fund massive armies, build roads, and maintain their vast territories. Because trade was so lucrative, political control over the routes became a major strategic goal for any aspiring power. States invested heavily in protecting these commercial lifelines. The Romans built an extensive network of paved roads and policed the Mediterranean Sea, which they called Mare Nostrum or Our Sea, to suppress piracy and ensure safe passage for their grain ships and merchant vessels. In Persia, the Achaemenid Empire established the Royal Road, complete with way stations and garrisons, to facilitate swift communication and secure trade. Controlling these routes wasn't just about money, it was about power, influence, and projecting strength. None of this would have been possible without remarkable technological advances. The development of more sophisticated ships was a game changer. The lateen sail, for instance, allowed ships to sail against the wind, making maritime travel far more reliable and efficient. On land, the domestication of the camel-dash ship of the desert was the key that unlocked the Trans-Saharan trade, as these animals could carry heavy loads for long distances with little water. The construction of roads, bridges, and canals by empires made overland travel faster and safer. And let's not forget the tools of navigation. Ancient mariners learned to navigate by the stars, and inventions like the astrolabe later allowed for more precise positioning at sea, empowering them to venture further than ever before. This global network also had a profound social impact. A new class of wealthy merchants emerged, who often wielded significant influence in their societies. While they might not have had the hereditary status of the aristocracy, their wealth gave them power and a higher social standing. These merchants were the ultimate networkers, creating personal and professional connections that spanned continents. A trader from Rome might have a business partner in India and a trusted contact in Egypt. These relationships, built on trust and mutual benefit, were the glue that held the ancient global economy together. Trade broke down isolation and fostered a sense of a larger, interconnected world, where events in one corner of the globe could have ripple effects thousands of miles away. Of course, the life of an ancient trader was anything but easy. It was fraught with risks and challenges. Bandits and pirates were a constant threat, lurking along lonely stretches of road or in unguarded waters, ready to pounce on valuable cargo. The physical environment itself was a formidable adversary. Traders had to endure the brutal heat of the desert, the freezing cold of mountain passes, and the unpredictable fury of the sea. Journeys could take months, or even years, and there was no guarantee of a safe return. Disease was rampant, and a simple illness could be a death sentence, far from home. Despite these dangers, the allure of immense profits and the thrill of adventure drove countless individuals to undertake these perilous journeys. Looking back, the influence of these ancient trade networks is undeniable. They were the first draft of the globalized world we know today. They demonstrated that connecting different cultures through commerce could lead to shared prosperity, innovation, and a richer human experience. They set the stage for the age of exploration, where European navigators sought new sea routes to the spice-rich East, and eventually for the complex web of international trade that defines our modern economy. The next time you drink a cup of coffee with sugar, or season your food with black pepper, take a moment to think about the millennia-long journey of those goods. It's a journey that began with brave ancient traders who, in their pursuit of profit, ended up changing the world forever. Thanks so much for joining me on this incredible historical adventure. If you enjoyed learning about the ancient world's global economy, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history. Let me know in the comments which ancient trade good you think was the most important. See you next time.